Hi, my name is Seán O'Connor, and I'm a strength performance intern coach at Marquette University. Today I'll be presenting my annual plan for, does anyone know how to say that word?
Kabaddi.
Yes. So you guys must have heard of Kabaddi before. Do you guys happen to know where it is played? Mostly? Predominantly?
India.
Yes. So we're just going to take a quick little peek at it. So, as we all know, because we're huge Kabaddi fans, it originated in prehistoric times. If you also want to open your packets up to the first page, it originated in prehistoric times in the south of India, and in 1921. In this red shaded area up there, you can see that's called the Marshatra. That is believed to where the rules officially were put in place in India. In 1923, an all-Indian tournament was had. In 1972, the Amateur Federation of India was created. In 1990, at the Asian Games in Beijing, Kabaddi was added. In 2004, the first Kabaddi World Cup happened, and of course India won. And then today we're going to be looking at a team from the Vivo Pro Kabaddi League, which is in India. So the movement analysis of Kabaddi is it's a full body contact sport. Major movements are necessary, so agility, elusiveness, flexibility, mobility, explosiveness, and fundamental strength are all keys, especially for raiders, which we saw are the guys that are by themselves in the opponent's side half of the court, and the defenders who need to be able to bring these fast guys down. So common injuries for this sport, as in any contact sport, are cuts, bruises, sprains, strains, dislocations, and fractures. In this program, we will prepare athletes for this, especially targeting the hip flexors, ankle ligaments, and shoulders. As I said, the competitions that these athletes compete in is the Kabaddi World Cup, which is the largest competition for Kabaddi athletes. They haven't really set, like normally World Cups are every 4 years. The first one was in 2004, the next one was in 2007, the one after that was in 2014. You also have the Asian Games. You have another professional league in Pakistan, as well as professional leagues in Iran. There are amateur leagues in America, England, and many other countries that are starting to pick it up, and hopefully it will be added to the Olympics in the coming years. And like I mentioned before, the biggest league is the Pro League in India, which we'll be looking at today. So if we looked at the Mamba, who we saw their video earlier, this is what a normal schedule would look like. So they usually play weekly. There are 9 matches in a season, or 8 matches in a season. If they win out, they go into the playoffs. You have the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and then the championship. So their season lasts from October to January, and that's how our plan is going to work. Here's a brief explanation of the rules.
The Kabaddi court measures 13 by 10 meters with a midline dividing the court into 2 halves. Within each half of the court, there is a walk line. A raider has to cross this line in each raid to make the raid legitimate. If a raider crosses the bonus line with his trading foot in the air, When there are 6 or more opposition players on court, he gets a bonus point. Lobby. These yellow zones on each side of the court get activated and become a part of the play area only after there is a touch between a raider and the defender. Each team starts the game with 7 players on court and 5 substitutes on the bench. Of the 7 players in a team, there are 2 corners, who are primarily defenders. There are 2 ins, who are primarily the key raiders of the team. There are 2 covers, who are on either side of the center and are again primarily defenders. And there is 1 center, who's either an all-rounder or a third raider of the team.
So if you guys could flip to the next page in your packet, it should say rules. So as I mentioned before, during a raid, the raider does have to cross the block line. His goal is to try and touch as many defenders as possible, touching the bonus line and returning safely back to his side. So for him to return back, he just has to cross or reach over to his line, as you saw in the video. Just even a fingertip is good enough. Whereas the defenders is try to stay together as a unit, try not to get touched, don't let the raider pass the bonus line, and if he does or if he touches the defender, make sure he doesn't return back to his side. This wasn't mentioned in the video, but for a raid, once the team has decided that they would like to raid, they have 5 seconds to initiate the raid, otherwise the other team will get a point and they can raid. The raider also has to chant Kabaddi, which is called the cant, while he is raiding, so that determines how long the raider can raid. So while defenders are tackling the raider, they can't cover his mouth because that is an infliction of the rules. That will result in the player being out and a point to the raider's team. For a player to be out, if the raider touches the defender and makes it back to his side, a player is out. If a raider is tackled, a player is out. For a player to be brought back in, every time the team achieves a successful point, 1 player from the out comes back in. That is determined by chronologically who is out already. We'll continue. So for our plan, we're going to do some 3-rep max testing. We're going to look at the main compound lifts, which is squat, deadlift, prone pull, and bench press. The reason we're looking at these tests is because this is a good indicator of the major muscle group's strength, and since it's a full body sport, this will give us the best indicator of how strong these athletes are. And then we will also have some sprinting and a multi-stage fitness test. So for the sprints, if you can see the court, as in the video said, is 10 meters wide and it's 6.5 meters to the midline. So we will run 6.5 meters sprints to get a good indication of how fast these athletes are in 6.5 meters. And then for our multi-stage fitness test, we will look at 10 meters because that is the distance from each side of the lobby. And that will give us a good indication of how fast these athletes can cover the width of the court.
Know your Kabaddi in 1 minute on Kabaddi Mantra. We break down the skills of a defender. In Star Sports Pro Kabaddi, the defenders invariably bounce as a back, using their strength and might to tackle the raider. To overpower a raider, the defenders have a series of skills in their arsenal. From the ankle hold, a hawk-like grip that literally breaks the raider's charge, to the back hold that virtually locks down the raider, the front block that quashes the raider in his full momentum, and the dash that knocks out the raider from the court. Skills executed with a lot of belief and that perfect timing.
So since these are 2 basically different athletes, you have a raider and a defender, and you have very few that do both, we're going to look more at what a defender would do. So to start, if you would turn to your next page, please. We are in the off season. So in the off season, we projected. We'll imagine that Du Mumba has won the championship, so their season finished. It's July 6th, so they're gonna have that time off until the 3rd week of February off. So once we get back to the third week of February, we're gonna come back in and we're gonna have a deload phase, which is gonna be focused extremely on yoga, and we're gonna work on the mobility of these athletes, of these defenders when they come back in. So you can imagine sets of 2 and about 8 reps. Then we get into the GPP phase. The goal of this phase is to build a base for the upcoming program. This will be focused on creating a routine and getting these guys ready for the upcoming season, getting them prepared for the cycle, getting them used to the weight room. We will, and because we are gonna do weight room stuff, and we're also gonna do sprint and conditioning based stuff. So we're gonna start to build the mechanics of both the lifts and our sprinting. We're gonna be in the 4 to 6 set range, 12 to 18 reps. We're gonna be looking at about 50 to 60% of their. We got their 3 rep max, but we're gonna calculate their 1 rep max from that, and after that we're gonna calculate then 50 to 60% for this phase. We're gonna be focusing a lot on improving our core strength, improving our hip flexor strength, and improving ankle strength and shoulder strength. We get into the hypertrophy phase, which is to increase lean muscle mass. We're gonna increase volume and prepare for the upcoming cycle. We're gonna start to create that sprint profile. We're gonna, again, it's 4 to 6 sets. We're gonna be in the 8 to 12 reps. It's 60 to 70% of our 1 RM for our compounds, and we're gonna be more into the dumbbell stuff, getting ready for these big lifts coming. Then we get into our basic strength phase. We're gonna increase durability. Durability and strength. We're gonna really hit our compounds hard. We're gonna introduce our Olympic lifts, and we're gonna start with our eccentric movements. So you can imagine the eccentric bench, eccentric squat. We're gonna be in the 70 to 85% range, and again it's 4 to 6 and 6 to 8. Then we get into the preseason, where we start to peak now. We really want to emphasize power of these athletes. So we're gonna really be hitting our Olympics hard. We're gonna be the 80 to 95% range. Back to the basic strength phase, I forgot, is we're gonna add the resistance strength, or the resistance court sprints after we create that sprint profile. Now we wanna get into the resistance stuff. Now we'll just be into court sprints, really making sure we're hitting our highest numbers. And then as well, the same with our lifts. For in-season, we're gonna be in the competition phase. This phase is going to be very dumbbell heavy, so we're going to want to do most of our Olympic stuff dumbbells. We're going to get into our concentric stuff. Again, we're going to be pretty high on the weight, so for our compounds, we're going to be in the 75 to 90% range. And finally, for our last phase, which hopefully will be 6 weeks, and we'll get into playoffs and do very well, we'll be focusing on being powerful and just maintaining that powerful feeling. So we're going to be in the 70 to 80% range. It's going to be between 2 to 4 sets with reps between 2 to 6. And it's going to be a lot of plyometrics, partial Olympic stuff, again, keeping with the concentric movements. Any questions? Yeah.
So when you're training the Raider, are you training them more so in strength or in speed?
Sorry.
I know there's a difference between like a Raider and a defender.
Yeah, so this was more of a defensive for a defender. The Raider would be a little bit more focused on the agility section and the sprint and conditioning phase, because we want them, like we said earlier with the movement analysis, they need to be very elusive, very agile, and as you saw, need to be able to squirm out of any tackle or kind of they're a huge thing for them as well is the cant that they keep saying Kabaddi. So a lot of like endurance training for them will be huge to improve their succession as a Raider.
Other questions?
Yeah.
So, you know, this is a big contact sport, just like football or rugby. Are you doing anything for like concussions?
Yes. So we'll also be working on for our warm-ups, it'll be dynamic, and we'll kind of be hitting those, like I said, our huge focus is the core, the hip flexors, the shoulders and the ankles. The neck will also be used in every warm-up along with those 4 components.
there a reason they have to hold hands?
It's strategic because
Okay.
it's if one guy gets touched, then it helps them pull the next guy along. It's like more agile, I guess. It's just like if I get touched, I'm going for him so he doesn't
Okay.
make it back, and I'm bringing this guy with me
Okay.
to get him.
Yeah, with the tackling, it's like a kind of grappling or wrestling component. So what exercises or movements might you choose to help them with the kind of wrap tackle and grappling aspects?
Well, since we do have the conditioning kind of stuff on. So for most days, it's either gonna be for most phases, it's either gonna be a week of like sprinting conditioning based stuff, or it's gonna be one day dedicated to like the sprinting conditioning stuff. So besides the training that they're gonna be doing, since this is a professional sport, we're gonna be introducing a lot of like conditioning based drills that encourage this kind of grappling, and so we could see like light wrestling or like light grappling on Wednesday in the hypertrophy phase.
Any other questions? All right, well done.